Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to do a recap and review of the film Renfield, so let's get right into it. As the story begins, it's the early 20th century, and Transylvanian vampire Count Dracula meets English lawyer R.M. Renfield, just like in the novel by Bram Stoker. Renfield hopes to broker a deal for some land, and after proving to be a useful assistant, he ends up becoming Dracula's familiar, allowing him to be immortal and to gain super strength and speed when he eats bugs. About 90 years later, Renfield finds himself exhausted and just tired of bringing victims to Dracula, as well as of Dracula's abuse. We see that Dracula recently had a close call with some vampire hunters that almost killed him. So he and Renfield moved to New Orleans to recuperate. There's actually a pretty funny scene where because Dracula's almost killed and he's made rather crispy and has to be rehabilitated, which takes place over the course of the rest of the film. Anyway, there in New Orleans, Renfield discovers a 12-step self-help group for people in codependent relationships and decides that he's going to hunt down the abusive lovers of the other group's members so that he can kill them and give them to Dracula to feast on without himself feeling remorse. After he follows one to a warehouse where they've stolen some drugs, Renfield is confronted by several of these criminals before they're all attacked by an assassin hired by the rival Lobo crime family. After killing the assassin, Renfield unsuccessfully attempts to hunt down the man who hired him, Teddy Lobo, who drives off in a hurry, leaving a weakened Renfield, who was hurt during the fight, to drag the corpses back to Dracula's lair in the basement of the dilapidated charity hospital. Teddy, meanwhile, runs into a sobriety checkpoint that is run by Rebecca Quincy, a second-generation police officer, who arrests Teddy after he hurls the bricks of cocaine at her and her partner. At the police station, Teddy's released from custody by corrupt police officers, while Rebecca has a confrontation with her sister Kate, who's an FBI agent. Dracula tells Renfield that the criminals he's brought him as food are insufficient and that he desires the blood of someone pure and innocent instead. He specifically mentions a busload of cheerleaders. Renfield goes to a restaurant to abduct some folks, while Rebecca is also led there by clues from the crime scene. The two are caught in an attack on Rebecca's life that Teddy has been pressured into making, so that the fierce reputation of the Lobos will be reestablished. Instead, Renfield and Rebecca defend themselves, killing several gang members and leading to Teddy escaping. Teddy's mother, a woman named Bella Francesca, orders him to hunt down the man who killed her foot soldiers, and he ends up encountering Dracula when Renfield is away. He and Dracula agree to form an alliance, while Renfield has taken to heart the techniques of his self-help group and decides to make a life for himself apart from his master Dracula. He sets up an apartment and starts changing his attitude around, and he even gives a statement to the police to help them try to finally stop the Lobos. Dracula learns what Renfield's been up to, and he decides to kill the support group members in front of Renfield. Rebecca appears and finds Renfield surrounded by dead bodies, causing her to arrest him until she is swarmed by corrupt police officers and the Lobos, who also want revenge on Renfield. Rebecca refuses to hand Renfield over, and she barely escapes with him, getting shot in the process. The next morning, Rebecca finds that Renfield has saved her life, and he explains his true origin while confirming that he wants to reform himself. The two fight through a group of corrupt police officers and Lobo henchmen that came to the apartments to kill them and escape. Rebecca then attempts to get in touch with her sister Kate, but she discovers that she's been taken hostage by Dracula and Bella Francesca. So she and Renfield stockpile weapons and bugs to storm the Lobos' headquarters, only to find that Dracula has empowered over a half a dozen gang members, including Teddy, with all of the same powers that Renfield has. After a fight, Renfield kills Teddy. Rebecca goes to stop Dracula, only to find that Kate is beaten near to death, and that only the healing properties of Dracula's blood can save her, which he will offer her in exchange for Rebecca's loyalty. She tricks Dracula by pretending to agree and then injuring him by exposing him to sunlight, leading to him having a final standoff with Renfield and Rebecca that ends with the two collaborating to capture him in a magic circle of cocaine. Renfield and Rebecca beat Dracula into pieces. They capture his healing blood and divide up the bits of his corpse into pieces of concrete that they scatter across the water system, either finally destroying the vampire or at least making it very hard for him to reform his body. Renfield then heals Kate and later resurrects his self help group friends, feeling empowered to make a new life for himself. And that's where the movie ends. So I was dubious about this when I first saw the trailer. I wasn't sure if I wanted to see it. I thought it might be a little too hokey, but it's actually very good. The actor that plays Renfield is a very good actor. He's good in everything he's in, and he's really good in this. Aquafina is excellent. I love her. She's very funny. But the best part of the movie, undeniably, is Nicolas Cage's Dracula, because he doesn't in any way play it straight. Like, he's scary to an extent because he's got all these powers and he's evil, but he's not scary like the Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book or the film, or, like a more serious vampire character might be in a vampire story. He's basically just a supernatural dickhead. He acts like a dick, like an asshole through the whole movie, but he just happens to also be Dracula. So it's very funny and it's perfect casting for Nicolas Cage, and it's just very entertaining. The blood and gore and viscera is off the charts. There's one scene where where the bad guys are being literally beaten up by a pair of one guy's arms that Renfield rips off earlier in a fight. More than one head either flies off or is completely obliterated. So it's just a really fun movie. But that's really it. I mean, I recommend it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a fun movie and it's a different take on the whole Dracula, and Renfield mythos, which, can never get enough of those. But that's really it. It's just a fun movie. So for now, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with another movie review soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.